You Make It, We Mock It is where we test the coolest, wildest, deadliest 12-gauge ammunition ever imagined. These are all prototypes, and you get to see it tested for the very first time. Now, it's easy to think that these are made by some weapons company, but no, they were made by our very own viewers. Today we have a very fascinating looking projectile that, to me, reminds me of a 1950s sci-fi rocket. These slugs are big and bold and have Texas written all over it, and these were designed by Diceman. Now, if you haven't seen his prick slug, or what we call the major prick, that was quite an engineering feat. But here's a little sample of its performance. The S.S.T slug is what I would call a mechanically fragmenting projectile. It utilizes an aluminum body, a heavy brass core, and once again we see the Hilti DX fastener screwed into the nose. And we also see a stainless steel base plate to give it support. Now, Diceman was the first person ever to utilize a Hilti DX fastener in a projectile. These fasteners are normally driven into steel using a nail gun blank. Now here we see Diceman's design notes, and we learn that S.S.T stands for shotgun slug thingy. That's just classic. The notes explain what it's made out of and some of his concerns, such as the petals breaking away just from centrifugal force. And he explained that the purpose of the washer on the tip of the DX fastener is to give it more resistance in soft targets. The brass core is actually a wedge, and as it impacts something, the brass wedge is driven downwards and breaks the 6 aluminum petals away from the rest of the body. And those petals, of course, become their own projectiles. And at that point, it just becomes insult after injury. The projectile is 2 inches or 51 millimeters in length. Weight is 31.6 grams or 1.11 ounce or 489 grains. The S.S.T will be using a 2-piece discarding sabot in a 3-inch hole, and we'll be using an FS12 gas seal for today's tests. We will be using a fully rifled barrel today, but we also want to see how they do out of a smooth bore. The first 5 projectiles will be loaded with 30 grains of long shot, and then we'll see how they do with 35 grains. Well, it's time to head out to the test range and see how the S.S.T performs. Hey, we're out here to test the S.S.T by the Diceman from Texas. So anyway, we're going to start out with a 30 grain load and see if, I'm really curious if that little flat washer thing on the front is going to really screw us up or not. We're going to start out with a rifled barrel first, and then we're also going to try a smooth bore too, see if we can get stability out of that. So we're at 22 yards to our target, aiming at the Diceman sticker on the Kevlar vest. Shot number 1. Woo. 1509. Get some good speed there. Shot number 1. Woo. Well, the first shot went exceptionally well. Nearly dead centered that sticker. Now, we saw no issues with the petals breaking off. That was one of Ronnie's concerns, even though this projectile was spinning at 30,000 RPM. Yeah, 1500. That's a little faster than I anticipated. I was thinking 1450, but amazing first shot. Look at that. That's pretty good. I don't know if this is the hole from it. Looks like we had a complete pass through. Oh, these are I'm impressed, Ronnie. I am impressed. What do you think, Brandon? He doesn't look too impressed. The second shot into our ballistic jello mold, well, it went a little to the right. but look at the damage. We saw a lot of fragmentation of the petals. Just a nasty wound injury that we could see already in this high-speed camera shot. So far, the S.S.T is working out quite impressively.
The elevation was pretty good. That's about how high I was holding it. It went maybe an inch to the right. Not terrible, but I would have liked to see it dead center a little bit better. But lots of disruption in the gel. Looks like the majority of it passed through. Though I do see, looks like one of the petals right there. Look at that. There's another petal down there. So the petals, those went in pretty far. That one not so much, but this one a little better. Okay, next we're gonna try the smooth bore. I think this is a longer barrel. I think it's 26 inches. The rifle barrel is 24, I believe. And we'll see if these will stabilize without any spin. All right, here we go. Oh, not a good sign at all. Not a good sign. 1526. A little more velocity out of that longer barrel. All right, here we go.
Now, even with the miss shot, we can learn something new and cool. We see the slug flying perfectly stable without any spin, and as it approaches the table, its own shockwave pushes the nose up. Then it passes over the table and re-stabilizes again. Now, I'm not even sure what this effect is called. Shockwave ground effect? Who knows?
We're gonna go back to the rifle barrel. We know that they'll fly stably with no spin, though. That's the important thing I wanted to see. But let's hit that lead plate. Ladies and gentlemen, the lead plate. Ooh, a little bit to the right, but we hit it. Can't complain there. Ladies and gentlemen, the lead plate. Ooh.
No problem hitting the plate this time, although it was a little low and to the right. And because this one was gyroscopically stabilized, the shockwave did not cause any deviation.
I was aiming here, and little low, and a finger away from the center. And look how deep that aluminum body went. Look at that, there's the base plate. It was just laying in there. But that aluminum, you can see light through there, so we're pretty sure that we got penetration there, right? Impressive. So brass works pretty well for penetrating lead plate. Confirmed that entire core passed through there. Almost brought the aluminum body, which is really light, almost pulled that through there too. Nice job. Up next we got the Ballistic gummy bear. It's a little bit of a smaller target. This time I'm aiming on a slightly, maybe half an inch to the left, just slightly, and we'll see if that adjustment pays off or if it's a bad idea. Looks like a hit. Looks like a hit to the left, so that might have been a bad idea. Looks like a hit.
Now, had I kept the same point of aim, the shot would have been a lot more centered. There we see the stainless steel disc flying off the back of it, but we didn't seem to have any fragmentation on this shot. There just wasn't enough resistance in that grazing shot.
Now using the 35 grain super magnum loads. Well, it sounds good, right? And I'm aiming directly at the center of Diceman's sticker. Can you focus? Thank you. Okay, are we ready? Engage. Whew. Oh, we hit 1603 feet per second. It's screaming fast. Gauge. Whew.
Now we had pretty decent accuracy on this shot. At least we hit the sticker. It was just a little to the left. The Hilti DX fastener and the brass core blasted to the plate like a fat man at a buffet. This plate is 3/16" mild steel. That's about 5 millimeters. So let's take a look at the damage up close.
Not too bad. It could have been a little more centered, but we're off by 2 knuckles, if that. This was found on the ground. Just wiped out. Look at the hole though. Little tribute to OG. Ow! 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 There we go. Don't try that home. It's sharp. The petals are gone. The brass. I'm surprised the hole is as big as it is on there though, because mostly just that little brass insert shot through that. Brass is a tough metal. It's, I would say, tough as steel, as a steel projectile, but it has more density. It's a heavier metal. Okay, we got a new target here. This is Private Mustard. He is Colonel Mustard's nephew. Not too bright, and he has a habit of watching those TikTok videos too much, not paying attention to things. Let's see how the 35 grain S.S.T does to this target. Get off that phone. Pay attention. Private Mustard.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
But of course.
Mustard everywhere. The poor old Private Mustard. Oh, that's what happens when you have too much social media, too much TikTok. You just crash out like that. Let's see what 1600 feet per second does with the Super Magnum S.S.T. Here we go. Damn. Well, we have 2 left. I want to save one for the Ballistic gel block, and we're going to take a 45-yard shot on Brandon here. Hit it! Hit it!
It wasn't a bad shot considering I was aiming a little bit low, and it hit low. Now in the past, a lot of slugs tended to fly high at this range. Now one thing I did learn when I was cleaning up was we did have some problems with the 35 grain loads. It was just too much. Now on the left you can see the sabos from the 30 grain loads, and on the right is one from the 35. Now what causes this is the gas seal actually blowing out. Here we see a still image from the headshot, and you can see that the lip seal of the gas seal is all ripped up. So that sabo ends up getting cooked and melted. So it was kind of a surprise I could hit anything with the 35 grain loads.
Okay, this is our last one, the last Magnum one. See what it does to the clear ballistic block. Here we go. Woo! The ducticators went flying there. Here we go.
Now once again we had a gas seal blowout on this shot, but luckily because of that brilliant design by Diceman, it still flew straight. Now we can see fragmentation of the petals and full penetration of the rest of it. Now considering that these have never been tested before, they worked exactly like Diceman planned them to. So that's pretty good engineering. Now if you notice at the very front edge of the block there, you can see that gas seal and it's just cooked and shredded up. So a little too much pressure there, or maybe the quality of the FS12 gas seal has just gone downhill. I'm not sure. Now I distinctly remember shooting hotter and heavier loads before without that problem. Now I recently bought 500 new FS12 gas seals from Ballistic products, hoping that the quality was better than the other 500 that I've been using for the last few years. Anyway, the aluminum body almost made it all the way through the block, and there's our brass core that was ejected out. It was held in with green Loctite, as you can see, and I was able to catch that in our Kevlar body armor panel at the end of the block. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video on our presentation of the S.S.T. Slug by Diceman. Now, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will try my best to respond to every question. And I always appreciate it if you can rate the video, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on your mood. Now, coming up, we have some exciting stuff to test out, including some Ukrainian anti-drone shells. Those ought to be fun.